A few hours ago, 3 astronauts left Earth. They launched from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in the Gobi Desert at 11:08 p.m. Beijing time, Sunday, May 24, 2026, aboard a Shenzhou spacecraft riding a Long March 2F rocket. Their destination is the Tiangong space station, orbiting 340 kilometers above the surface. They will arrive within hours. One of them may stay aboard for a full year. This is not a routine crew rotation. It is a mission carrying 3 firsts simultaneously, and each one tells a different story about where human spaceflight is heading. The commander is Zhu Yangzhu on his second flight. The pilot is Zhang Jiyuan, a former Air Force pilot, on his first. The payload specialist is Lai Ka-ying. She is the first person from Hong Kong to fly to space. Lai's path to this moment was not conventional. She spent years in the Hong Kong police force before applying to China's astronaut program during its 4th recruitment round in 2024. She holds a doctoral degree in computer forensics, a background that places her not in the pilot or engineering track, but in the payload specialist role, responsible for the scientific experiments that are the primary purpose of the extended stay. In a press conference the day before launch, she described the selection as something she had never dared to dream of. "My heart is filled with gratitude and pride," she said. "At the same time, I feel deeply the great responsibility that comes with this mission." Her presence aboard Shenzhou 23 is not incidental. It represents the first time China's manned space program has drawn from the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, a signal that the program is expanding its recruitment beyond the military and mainland scientific institutions that have supplied every previous crew. And one of the 3, the decision on who will be made during the mission itself, will remain aboard Tiangong for a full year, the longest single-mission stay in the history of the Chinese space program. The station they are heading toward is small by ISS standards, roughly 100 metric tons compared to the ISS's 420, but functionally complete. 3 modules, laboratories, an airlock, everything needed to sustain human life in orbit for years at a time. The crew will live and work in a pressurized volume roughly the size of a large apartment. They will exercise for 2 hours daily to slow bone and muscle loss. They will eat reconstituted meals from sealed packages. They will sleep in bags attached to the wall of the Tianhe module, in a compartment barely larger than a phone booth. For the astronauts selected to stay 12 months, that phone booth will be home for 365 days, 365 sunrises, each one lasting 4.5 minutes, 16 times a day. The purpose of that extended stay is specific: to study what happens to a human body and mind when it remains in microgravity for 12 continuous months. Not 6 months, which is the standard rotation. 12. The data from that stay is not academic curiosity. It is preparation for missions to the Moon by 2030, and eventually for missions far longer than any human has yet attempted. To understand why this mission matters beyond the crew, you need to understand what Tiangong is and why it exists. The International Space Station has been continuously occupied since November 2, 2000. For over 25 years, it has hosted astronauts from the United States, Russia, Japan, Canada, and the member states of the European Space Agency. It is the single largest international cooperation project in the history of human spaceflight. China never became part of the ISS program. In 2011, the United States Congress passed the Wolf Amendment, a law that prohibits NASA from using federal funds to cooperate with China on space activities, or to host Chinese visitors at NASA facilities without explicit authorization from the FBI and congressional committees. The amendment effectively barred China from participation in the ISS program. The stated reason was national security, concerns about technology transfer, and the military origins of China's space program. The practical consequence was that the world's most populous nation was excluded from the world's only permanently crewed space station. China's response was not to negotiate, it was to build. Tiangong, Heavenly Palace, began modular assembly in orbit in April 2021 with the launch of the Tianhe core module. The Wentian and Mengtian laboratory modules followed in 2022. By the end of that year, the station was structurally complete, a T-shaped complex roughly 1/5 the mass of the ISS, but fully functional, fully Chinese, and fully independent. It has been continuously crewed since June 2022. 4 years, 9 crew rotations, and now with Shenzhou 23, a 1-year mission, a milestone that only Russia and the United States have previously achieved. What the crew of Shenzhou 23 will find when they arrive is a space station that has already survived a crisis. In 2025, a suspected debris impact damaged the window of the Shenzhou 20 spacecraft while it was docked at Tiangong. The damage was severe enough that the spacecraft could not safely carry its crew home. This was not a theoretical problem. It was 3 astronauts in orbit with no safe ride back to Earth. In 3 months, China launched 3 separate missions just to keep Tiangong operational: a crew swap, an emergency return, and an uncrewed lifeboat replacement. The crisis was managed. But the Shenzhou 21 crew that arrived during the emergency has now been aboard for over 200 days, roughly a month longer than planned. They are the crew that Shenzhou 23 is coming to relieve. That handover is routine. What comes after is not. The 1-year stay is an experiment in human endurance. The longest single spaceflight in history is 437 days, held by Russian cosmonaut Valery Polyakov aboard the Mir space station in 1994 to 1995. NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei spent 355 days aboard the ISS in 2021 to 2022. Christina Koch spent 328 days in 2019 to 2020. Frank Rubio spent 371 days in 2023 after his return was delayed by a spacecraft leak. A year, 365 days, places the Shenzhou 23 astronaut in the same category as the longest-duration spaceflights ever conducted. The effects of long-duration microgravity on the human body are well documented, but incompletely understood. Bone density decreases at roughly 1 to 2% per month. Muscle mass declines despite daily exercise. Fluid shifts toward the head, increasing intracranial pressure, and in some cases, permanently altering vision. The list continues. Immune changes, radiation accumulation, circadian disruption. But the hardest effects to measure are not physical. Isolation, distance from family, the knowledge that the door does not open onto anything but vacuum. These are the variables that 12 months tests in ways that 6 months does not. NASA's Twins study, which compared astronaut Scott Kelly's year aboard the ISS with his identical twin Mark Kelly on the ground, provided the most detailed biological dataset ever collected from a single long-duration mission. China's year-long stay aboard Tiangong will generate a comparable dataset for a different individual in a different station environment using different protocols. The data is not just for Tiangong. It is preparation for missions beyond low Earth orbit. China has announced a crewed lunar landing target of 2030. The hardware is under development. A new heavy-lift rocket, a capsule designed for lunar return velocities, a lander that will carry 2 astronauts to the surface. But hardware is only half of the problem. The other half is the human body. The Apollo missions lasted 8 to 12 days. China's planned lunar missions will be longer. The 1-year Tiangong stay is a proving ground. If one astronaut can function effectively for 12 months in orbit, it provides the baseline data for designing missions that push further. There is also a detail about the Shenzhou 24 mission, due to launch approximately 6 months from now, that reveals how Tiangong's architecture is evolving. Shenzhou 24 will carry a Pakistani astronaut to Tiangong for a short-duration visit, the first international guest aboard China's station. The Pakistani astronaut will arrive on Shenzhou 24 and return to Earth aboard Shenzhou 23, taking the seat vacated by whichever crew member was selected for the year-long stay. This is the mechanism by which one astronaut stays for 12 months. Their seat goes home on a different spacecraft, carrying a different person. The year-long stay and the international visit are structurally linked. One enables the other. China built Tiangong because it was excluded from the ISS. Now, it is inviting international partners aboard. Pakistan first. Others, reportedly, are in discussion. Here is what the data confirms. Shenzhou 23 launched on May 24, 2026, carrying Zhu Yangzhu, Zhang Zhiyuan, and Lai Ka-ying to Tiangong. One crew member will remain for 1 year, the longest single-mission stay in Chinese spaceflight history. Lai Ka-ying is the first astronaut from Hong Kong. The mission follows the Shenzhou 20 emergency and the extended Shenzhou 21 stay. Shenzhou 24, launching later this year, will carry the first international visitor to Tiangong. Here is what the data does not yet tell us. Which of the 3 astronauts will be selected for the year-long stay? The decision will be made in orbit based on mission conditions. What the biological and psychological data from that stay will reveal. Whether China's lunar landing timeline of 2030 will hold. How many international partners will eventually fly to Tiangong? 25 years ago, the International Space Station began its era of continuous human presence in orbit. China was not part of it. Today, China operates its own station. It is launching year-long missions. It is inviting international partners. And it is using the data from those missions to prepare for the moon. The Wolf Amendment was designed to keep China out of one space station. China built another. 3 people left Earth a few hours ago. Among them, a former police officer from Hong Kong who never expected to see orbit. One of the 3 may still be circling Earth a year from now. When they return, the data they bring back will not be about Tiangong. It will be about how far a human body can go and how long it can stay.